Welcome back to another episode of Red Hawk Media, and we're in the business of wrapping up all of the death animation and the final screen that's going to pop up. And I kind of wanted to give you the lowdown on what we've got going on here. We have a start screen that's now created, and yeah, I know RoboKid, a little cheesy, but you get the idea. We got a start screen that's all customized. We got some buttons that are on here, and right now the only button that's really functional is the play button. So if we click on that, it actually starts our scene, and of course, where we left off last time is our character's taking damage. All right, he now disappears, and then we can click try again. Okay, now character dies, takes damage, we can click quit, and then from there that brings us back to the start screen. Ideally, what eventually is going to happen is we will have the menu button, and we'll have a menu manager that goes on there, and then we'll have quit, which will take us completely out of the application altogether. And that's what we're working towards here. So let's go ahead and get started with that process. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch back over to my other scene. So just to give you a little of an idea of how this works, okay, I've got two scenes or two levels here that are created, and the first scene is the start scene, and then I have my level that we've been working in for the past however many tutorials, and these two are communicating back and forth between each other. So I'm going to go ahead and switch over to player platform. We're going to go ahead and add in some of those features like the death UI. And that's just what we're calling it here. It's just another part of our UI element. And I'm going to go ahead and create a new one. You can see the old one is here, and that's what I was working on previously. But let's go through these steps. With the UI, what I want to do is I want to create another UI element here. And with this element, I'm going to bring in, to begin with, an image. This image is going to be our background for our little menu that pops up here. And we previously had sliced up some sprites for different windows and that. So if we go into our source for the sprite, click on the little dial next to it, and go into our assets, and then we go down to the windows here. And I think it's an early on one. There's achievement, level, select, and here, this looks good, window 4. Now, I can go ahead and hit enter. That is now entered in there. And I can go ahead and resize this so that it fits my space a little bit better. And from here, we're going to add on a few things. Let's first name this something new. Let's call this whole thing the death UI. So let's click on here. Call this death UI. Enter. Now, from here, we're going to add some buttons on. We could add text and all that. Let's focus on the buttons first. And first thing, right-click on the object now, and we're going to go to UI once again. We're going to add a button, okay? And we're going to get this button resized to what we're looking for. So let's go ahead and resize that to fit our space, and snap that back over here so we've got it basically centered in there. Now, we're just going to put two buttons on this one for now, and we're going to customize the button a little bit. Up where it says image and script, we're going to go ahead and take the color and customize that to a darker gray. Okay. And you can pick, of course, whatever color fits your scheme here. And then there's a second part of the button where you can drop it down, and you've got the text. Okay, and on this text, we're going to say try again. Okay. Now, with that text, we can size it up so that, one, it's centered, and font size, we dial that up so that it fits in there, like so. And then we're going to take the color, change that so that it fits. And then if you want to get extra fancy, you can go ahead and add a component, put a shadow on there, and then let's go ahead and make that 2, and then -2. Okay, and that'll just give a little distance or separation between the shadow and the actual text. And you can see it pops a little bit better there. Now, we did all that work, but for naught. We are going to duplicate it, so Command D. Now we've got a second button. We're going to take this one with our move tool and move it straight down and fill the space here like so. Now on the second button, let's go ahead and name these here. Let's call this try again. There we go. And then for the text, we'll put try again in there also so that it's all easily managed. And now for the other button, we're going to say quit. Good there. And now we can go into the text We can switch that out to quit. Whoa. IT. All right. And we can call that quit here too. All right, we're just keeping things organized. And now let's go ahead and minimize both of those. Now, in the description, I've got a download for a menu actions script here, and that's going to help you with this next part. You'll need that. You'll need to add that to your scripts to be able to add this in here. Since I've already got it added in, if you are bringing it in, of course, you can import from the assets. You can go import package. It is a custom package, and then you'll see that the menu action script is actually in there for the options. And that'll automatically put it into your scripts folder here. And we could do this one of two ways. We could drag it from here on to add that component, like so. And now that that script is on there, I'm going to take my try again button. And actually, I'm not going to do anything with it yet. We're going to add some conditions here. So we want it to be runtime only. And we want it to be the try again button. So I'm going to drag that object in there. And now that I've got the script on there, I can go to menu actions, and in the menu actions drop down here, we can see menu underscore action, which is going to go to a page through a string command. Okay. Now the page that I want to go to is whatever page you've got created, any other pages that you've got. If you don't have one right now, you can go ahead and whatever the name of your game is. For instance, I've got Robo Kid, and then I've got underscore start. Okay, so I've got that all added on there, and we're good there. That's all good. Now, one more part to all this. If we start the game right now, we're going to have a problem, because when I start the game, the death UI is already on there, and he's not dead yet. So let's go ahead and set that part up here. Let's click on the death UI, and we're going to deactivate it. Okay, so we'll deactivate the death UI, so it'll be grayed out like this, and now it's not showing up at start, so it's not active. Now another thing that we're going to do is we're going to go and make a couple tweaks to our player health script. So in the scripts folder, if you double click on player health, it'll open up MonoDevelop, and we've been working in this script already. The last time we left off, we added in the saw tag, which allows the saw to take some damage. I've since added in spikes, that tag, so whenever I've got some spikes that are tagged to that, they will take damage from, or take life from my character, and then also the acid here. Now here's the part that we're most interested in. Once your character is dead, which you should have in the last tutorial got your character actually, this bool is tripped, it's switched to true, your character goes through the death animation. Now here's the part that we want to add on to all this, if it's not already added on to your script. We want to destroy this game object. So after they die, 2 frames after that, your character is going to disappear, and they're going to become inactive. They won't be able to move around anymore. And we want that because we don't want the player to see any more of the level here. So if you haven't added that on, go ahead and add this line of script in. And then the last and final one that we want to make sure is there is we have the death UI. Okay, now this is a game object, and this line of code, if it's not there, is going to set it active to true. Okay, at the beginning when it first comes out, it is set active to false because we clicked it off. Okay, now that's all saved. We go ahead and hit Command S. We go back, and last thing that we've got to do, we're going to go to our player. Our player has the player health script attached to them. And we've already dragged in our slider and our health text. And now the last thing is we're going to go ahead and drag in the death UI. So I'd go to my hierarchy, and whichever one of these I wanted to use, I would go ahead and drag that whole thing into the player thing. Now, sometimes it's a little challenging to go back and forth between these, so sometimes I like to just take the inspector and lock it so it doesn't go anywhere. And now I can grab that death UI, and I can drag it right into the player's health script there. Okay? Then you are all set to rock and roll, and we go ahead and push play, and we hit the saw blade, and he dies, and you see him disappear. And now we've got our try again feature, and we can click on that, and what it does is it brings us right back to the same exact level. Okay, so just to be clear, we're all set up there with the Death UI. Now, I may have actually, let's double check our buttons really quick. Like, go to the Death UI. For the try again one, we actually want it to be, and I misspoke the first time here, so we're just going to clear this up a little bit. The try again button, we want it to reload the same exact level. So if I look at the top here and I look at what level I currently have, so right now I have player underscore platform dot unity. That's what I would put in for this. Okay, and I know why it was still working because I have my other Death UI that it's accessing right now. But just to make sure that you have it all right, we go player underscore platform. Now this is the name of whatever you've been calling your scene that you've been working in. And since this is the try again button, of course it should load up the scene all over again. Now the quit button, we didn't add any components to that, so technically it would do nothing. We go through the same process. We add on the menu actions script, so I can search menu actions now that we've imported that. Add that on. And now I can add on the runtime only. And I take my quit button, drag it in as an object, go to the no function, menu actions, and then I go to menu underscore action, go to string, and this is the string that I want to go to. Now this is my start scene because I don't want to go back to the same level. I want to go back to my startup. So RoboKid underscore start, which will take me back to my start scene. Now, if you don't have a start scene yet, this is a great time to go ahead and name it, and then you can go ahead and create the new scene for that. Now, all I did for the new scene, to give you an idea of that process, because now this is all working the way we want, let's go ahead and let's kill off our character really quick so you can see this. So run in here, and we die. He disappears, and now I click quit. And this is where I'm at with the other scene right now, is I've got a basic menu. Now this whole process is almost identical to what I did before. It's just I don't have as many things going on in this scene. So let's take a quick look at that just to be sure we've got all the components, and then I'm sure you'll be able to figure out the steps along the way here. So I'm going to get out of that. I'm going to switch over to my start screen, and I'm going to say don't save just because I've already got all that stuff in there. And now here's my start screen, and you'll see that I put in a background here just so that it wasn't all plain. So I took some of my prefabs from before and just dropped them in to cover up the background. And then I put it on, I created a GUI on the UI layer. So what I did was I went to create, I went to UI, and I created a canvas first. Okay, now this canvas is what's going to house all of your menu. So I just called it GUI for GUI. Let's try that again. If I could type, there we go. And then in this object, I just started adding on the UI elements. So the first thing I did is I added in an image for my background. And of course, I chose my sprite. So I went to my sprite dropdown. I think it was window 4 that we used before. You can switch it up to whatever you want to use. Window 4. There we are. Okay, so I got that element in there. And now, of course, I resize it to fit what I need. Okay, I'm going to skip over that step for the sake of time and to keep this tutorial short and focused. Now, also in the GUI area, I have to add on UI element again, and I'm going to add on the button, and I'm going to go through the same exact process that I went through earlier, where I go ahead and customize these buttons. Now, one thing I did find out is, just to clarify this, if you have any difficulties with it, on the image part of the button is where I change the color. I found that if you change the color on the button script and then the highlighted color, it causes like a conflict with the code that we presently have. And that's probably due to my inefficiency of coding. I'm positive of that. But change the color up here. So now I can go in here and I can say, oh, let's have a red button. After I get my button all customized with the name of it and the text and all that, I would Command D, and I duplicated that, and then I drop down that other button. And of course, I add on the menu action script and go through the same things that we went through before. Save this scene. When I save this scene, I gotta make sure that I use the same exact language, caps sensitive here, that I used in my menu action string. So just to show you, when I put the menu actions thing on here, let's go ahead, add that component, menu actions, boom. And I dragged in my button. Let's assume that this is a Menu actions, there we go. Let's assume that this is my play button. And then I went to menu actions and menu action here. And now whatever I type in here has to be exactly what I need it to be. Robo Kid, and then maybe the start of my level. And my first level is actually called player underscore platform. Okay, and that's going to take me in there. So whatever the name is of the scene that you want to go to, make sure you get it exactly put in there. And then you should be all set and ready to go. I'm going to go ahead and I'm deleting this out of here. Don't do that yourself. Now, before we can test all this out, we've got to do something really simple, and it's an easy step to skip over. We have two scenes that we're bouncing before. Currently, Unity has one scene that's loaded up for you, and you're going to have to switch that up so that when you go into the play mode, it will actually access all the scenes that we're interacting with. So, for instance, we have our startup screen right now, but we want to be able to get over to our first level. So let's add that in. So we're going to go to the File menu. We're going to go to the Build settings. And what we want to do is we want to start adding in some scenes. We can add open scene, and I've got this already done, so it's going to look a little bit different. But if you add your open scene, it's going to add the current one that you're working on. And then what you can do is from your levels folder or wherever you have your other scenes saved, you can grab those and then you can drag them in and it'll add those in there. Since I've done this before, I'm just going to check the box. Now that I've got my start scene and my first level scene added in here, it will actually go between all of them now when I do this. So I can go ahead and close this now that I've got those settings finalized. And now I can go ahead and begin testing my game. And I go in and I can play. Okay, and then I can die. And I can try again. And I play. And I die. And then I click quit. And that takes me back to the start screen. Awesome. Okay, so we have basically the full functionality of a real game here. It's pretty primitive, but it does work for the most part. And feel free to customize it however you want, make it your own, and have fun with that. Otherwise, we're going to be working on some other building level tutorials coming up here in the future, moving platforms and such, adding in some enemies, and just adding to the whole dimension of this 2D platform game. Thanks for joining us for another episode of Red Hawk Media.